Hello everyone, I'm Peter Bom, and exclusively for Australian Motorcycle News I'm reporting on today's MotoGP race in Qatar. I assume you guys have seen the race. I've seen it, I loved it, and in this video I try to give you some background information, my opinions, some facts about what happened today, why it happened as it did. Because let's start by explaining the results. Marquez won it, and this was a bit special. He did it in a clever way. He won it because he had a little bit extra pace over everybody else, but he won it more because he was just so controlled and calm, and having a complete idea of how long the race is going to be, when the tires were going to go drop, where to put himself on the track. So a masterclass from Mark, which is remarkable because Qatar has always been very, very difficult for Mark. But let's say the special thing that happened today, Maverick Vinales in second place on a KTM. That shouldn't happen, couldn't happen, but happened. But also when something like that happens, there is always the name of Maverick Vinales. When something really, really weird happens, it's always around Maverick Vinales. Because KTM so far this weekend here in Qatar, they have a horrible weekend. And that's mostly down to that they cannot use the soft rear tire, which you need in qualifying and which you needed yesterday. They were thinking they needed it in the sprint race and they got that even wrong. So with the super soft tire, they have lots of vibration and chatter and it puts the bikes offline and they can't do a good lap time with it. The soft were used yesterday in the sprint race was a big mistake. They were not fast with it and they couldn't even make it till the end of the race. So everything went really wrong for KTM, like really wrong. They maybe panicked overnight, because as far as I've seen for today's race, there's 4 KTMs on it and all of them were completely different. Completely different setup in the rear seats, in the mass dampers that they are still playing with, position of the exhaust, everything on the rear of the bike, fully different. And the one guy that got the package accidentally completely perfect and then immediately used it was this time Maverick Vinales. He did an unbelievable race. And it's such a joy to see him up there. Clever race, good race. Okay, he was not a match for Mark, but then in the end, let's be honest, this year not many people will be a match for Mark. So yeah. Hello everyone, this is a little update to the video. We are a couple of hours later now. As you can see here in Holland, it's already morning. And there was a shit news, I can say it, about the tire pressure. There's a penalty on Maverick Vinales' front tire pressure, was not correct, so he lost a lot of seconds. I think he's in P40 now instead of second, which was such a spectacular result. Little explanation about this tire pressure thing. Michelin is very worried for the front tire to collapse, to break, to fall off the rim, so they have a minimum tire pressure that you're supposed to go not under. The problem with the Michelin front tire is that just at that fucking limit, it performs at its best. So everybody wants to be on the lowest possible tire pressure in the front as possible. But the tire pressure, especially from the Michelin front tires, changes a lot over the conditions. If the track temperature is high, and you start riding, the temperature goes up. And when the temperature goes up, the pressure goes up, and so on and so on. And if you are on a little bit too high a pressure, you have no performance at all. So the Michelin front tire is either quite good on a super low, on the limit of the lowest part of the front pressure, or it's getting really bad until you definitely even crash in the pit lane if it's over for whatever 2.2 bar. So the teams has to have a crystal ball before the race starts, because if you start on the front row, if you're Marc Marquez, your crew chief and you will decide, well, we start with the front tire pressure obviously low, but not too low, because I can probably lead the whole race. If I lead it, my tire temperature and pressure will not go up, and then probably I am too low for too long of the race. 50% of the race time, the total race time, you have to be on the legal pressure. So almost 50% you can be under it. Nobody has a crystal ball. Maverick Vinales and KTM has never led a race, will probably never lead it again. I hope they're going to do it. But from the second row, he had a really good start, he had a really good first couple of laps, and then he was leading the race. By leading the race, his front tire pressure didn't went up, the temperature didn't went up, and so after the race, when they recalculated everything, it turns out he was more than 50% of the time on a too low front tire pressure, and he needs to be disqualified. Rules are rules, everybody knows it, but the shitty thing is that This is a front tire that is very, very sensitive for tire pressure changes. And secondly, you cannot predict your future. He sort of gets punished now for having a really, really good race. And that, in the end, is bullshit. So that front tire from Michelin is giving us already for a couple of years headaches and problems all around. And this is another example of what a shit show we have as a result from that. But don't come to me and say, well, he deserves this second place, because he didn't deserve it. He was riding around most of the time with a tire pressure that was too low, and with that super low tire pressure, it performed super good. So part of his result comes from riding around with a super low front tire pressure. That's what I wanted to share with you. That maybe gives you some more insight in what happened there. But the KTM, the weird thing from KTM is they cannot use the grip from the softer tires. Then they are struggling more. But as soon as the grip is not that great, everybody's on the medium tires in the race. And with all the modifications they made over his bike, which for sure, a lot of them were just like gambling, it was there. So it's way too early to say, yeah, KTM finally found a way. Now we make all the... No. It's KTM. And it's also Vinales. Sometimes they're unbelievably good, but I suspect that they don't even really know why they are sometimes good. They don't always exactly know why they are not good. So they changed a lot of parts and they work really, really hard. That's not a thing. But they don't seem to be any consistency at all. So next race in Jerez, in Europe, when we get there, they can be struggling or making the top three. You never know with KTM, but it was they made such an interesting, good, extra, spectacular race thanks to Maverick Vinales being so not Maverick by making a really good start, by being aggressive in the first couple of laps, defending his position, and also very not Maverick. When he wanted to overtake somebody, he did a fully committed move and didn't hesitate, and then he had a pace, which is not the Maverick Vinales from the last couple of years. So you never know. That goes to show here, you never know. This is when you think somebody really has a reputation, because it's always like that. He changes that, well, at least now. I made groups. So winners of today, who surprised us today, who shocked us, and who was disappointing today. Let's start with the winners of today. And just like yesterday's sprint race, that was you and me, because we had a really good race. Plenty of drama. Why did we have a really good sprint race, and why did we have, again, a very entertaining main race today? That is because the track is very hard for the tires, and the combination of the Michelin tires and this track makes it a lot like you guys Phillip Island track, which usually also gives us good races for the very fucking same reason. It's because the track is so hard on tires, you never do the whole race like full. You have to calm down a little bit. Otherwise you don't make it. Not your front tire, not your rear tire. And that type of races means that the guys in front, like Marquez or even Maverick, they start to control the pace, don't go too fast. That means everybody can catch up, especially the first half of the race. So you get a whole bunch of riders all fighting for position, because everybody thinks I can win today. But then the next half of the race, everything changes a little bit again, because the guys that overdid it drop, and the guys who stay calm, control the tires, they have something extra. So good races. I can watch this every week, because it also gives a chance for special riders to shine. And one of the special riders today, one of the winners of today for me was, except you and me, like I said, it's also Pecco Bagnaia. But that's also because he screwed up so much on Saturday. He screwed up his qualifying. That was just him. And then he got completely boxed around and confused and didn't know where to go in the sprint race. But then comes the main race. That's always with Pecco. He's so rock solid in the end. He starts 11. He gets to P2, loses one place in P3 and did that. And that's good, because to get from 11 to 2 or 3, he used up already a lot of tire. That's why in the end, in the last 5 laps, when Marc Marquez looked around and said, okay, now I put the hammer down and now we go really make the lap time. He couldn't make another move. Not him, not Maverick, Vinales as well, because he was already very happy to still be alive with the KTM in that position, and not Pecco because he used too much of his tires, getting from 11 to 2 or 3. So, but the biggest winner of today was obviously Marc Marquez, by being so much better. If you have 2-3 tenths extra pace on the race time, you can start to do a strategy. Drop when you can drop, attack when you can attack, and he's so fucking clever with that. So, yeah, winner of today obviously is Marc Marquez. The surprise of today is Pecco because he was so bad yesterday, but the real winners were, like I said, you and me. Who surprised us today? Johan Zarco on the Honda. He finished P5, a long time of the race in P4, and he finished, that's the special thing, within 7 seconds of the winner. And this is confirmed now because this is not the first race. Zarco has done a couple of good races in a row and he shows that Honda has made a huge step. But then still, if a manufacturer and all the riders are in trouble for so long as Honda and sometimes Yamaha as well, you see riders losing the motivation, losing the feeling for the edge, and then when you give them a better bike, they don't immediately use it. Not Zarco. Zarco immediately said, well, that works, thank you. You know, he's an old school warrior and I love that. He shows what the capacity and how far back Honda is already since they have a European project leader in the pit box. So, next item, who shocked us? Jorge Martin. He came back this weekend just to ride and just to get the bike, to learn the bike. Because he's never been on the bike. He did a couple of laps last year in Barcelona after the last race. He did half an hour in Sepang on the first day and crashed twice. And that was it. So for me, he has not been on the bike for 4 months. And basically goes into a race weekend with learning a new bike. And he did okay, but he shouldn't crash. He crashed himself out of it. That's a situation you need to avoid. He even went to the hospital, and I really hope he didn't hurt himself again. That it's not one of these years where whatever you do, you break a bone. But shocking to see Martin on the floor and having to get in the ambulance. Shit, he didn't need it. We don't want that. We want to see the number 1 Aprilia fighting with Marc Marquez, with Pecco behind, because that is the bike is so good that if Jorge Martin really knows the bike, he is up there. I'm sure of that. It's just, we have to wait a little bit longer. Who was disappointing today? There we go, Franco Morbidelli. I read my notes. Way too fast in the opening couple of laps. And then obviously using his tires way too much. Then dropping down the field. Then fighting a lost battle to his mate, Pecco Bagnaia. Only to make his mate's race even harder and making him lose even more time. That's not what you expect from such an experienced rider. This is exactly what you expect from a rookie. This is exactly what Pedro Acosta did last year in Qatar, and he learned a lot from that. Now, so yeah, disappointing Franco Morbidelli, definitely. But also disappointing are, except from Jorge Martin, all Aprilia riders. That bike definitely is a lot better. And from the Aprilia riders, the guy that should really watch in the mirror and rethink a couple of times what he's doing actually is Raúl Fernández. That's just way too slow on a bike that has so much talent. The guy also has a lot of talent, but he's completely off track and actually painful to see where he is. So yeah. Well, this was my summary of what happened today. There is a lot more. We can talk for an hour about this race because so many more names, Fabio Quartararo and whatever to speak about. But this is my summary, and I hope this helps you to understand why we saw what we saw. And I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So thanks for watching, and up until the next race in Jerez.